And for this evening's talk, another request which a person made twice on the internet to me, and so I know them very well. So they say, well, after all, it is Valentine's Day today. Can you, Ajahn Brahm, just say the Buddhist idea of the art of love? Because sometimes you think, like Buddhism, we always teach about non-attachments and letting go of stuff. But what about, people falling in love? And not everyone will become a monk or a nun. So most people who are Buddhists are going to have relationships, you're going to fall in love. So what actually is that love? Because unless we really understand what it is, sometimes we can get a lot of happiness but a lot of suffering as well from this thing which we call love. And one of the advantages of being a monk is like you're standing outside looking in. So you're not caught up, supporting one side or another. You have objectivity as a monk. It's one of the reasons why people say they come to listen to the talks of monks and nuns. What do the monks and nuns know, and why do they know that we teach this Buddhism and people listen? Why are these teachings very popular? And it's because quite literally monks and nuns live outside of the box of normal human life. And because we live outside the box, we can think outside of the box, we can actually see outside of the box. We have a more a deeper understanding, because we're not so involved and engrossed and entangled in this thing which we call life. So when we look at Valentine's Day, people expressing their love towards one another, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be a monk, but you do get involved in that. Every February the 14th, I make sure that I collect the mail for the monks, smell it first of all to check it out, to make sure that no one is trying to get one of my monks. And it's true. Some of these monks are really quite good looking, and people have told me, I remember there was one monk, he was really, really attractive apparently, and when he went to Sri Lanka, I heard on the grapevine here that many girls were really disappointed, because you see these monks here, what people like, you fantasize, or maybe he's not such a good meditator, he's always falling asleep, maybe I've got a chance. There's human nature. And it's also, I was saying, because we had an ordination last night of Andrew. If anyone's been to monastery, Andrew became a novice monk last night at my monastery. And I made the point there that once you become a monk, not every monk sort of actually makes it and is a monk forever, for life. Many of them after a few years, they feel, well, they've taken this as far as they want, and they disrobe and go back to the world again. And I said last night, it's a strange thing that all the monks, who I have trained at Bodhinyana Monastery down at Serpentine, who disrobe, they make excellent husbands. And all their wives, they come up to me afterwards, after the marriages, and they say, thank you, Ajahn Brahm. You looked after this guy for 3 or 4 years, you taught him how to be kind, how to let go, how to be sensitive, and he's a wonderful husband. So, but don't get any ideas. I'm trying to keep my monks. But why is that the case? And that's actually quite true. Why is that the case? Like 3 or 4 years of living a monastic life, it makes a man especially very sensitive and very understanding. And obviously they have a huge amount of kindness and compassion, because that's what we grow, in the monks and the monastic life. Putting all your effort into that. The whole ethos of monastic life is not to be proud and demanding or control things, but be able to work with life. To embrace life, to work with the difficulties in life in the same way we can work with the difficulties with other people as well. So it is a very good training ground. So I know that a lot of times I call the monasteries, Serpentine Monastery and Gijigala Monastery for the nuns, like nun factories or monk factories, but they're also husband factories as well. But that sort of brings you on to, what is this thing, called like romance and love, and how does it actually work? Now, first of all, you have the sort of the physical love, the attraction love. And that's one thing as a monk. You see, it's a very, very dangerous thing. Even last night in the ordination ceremony of a novice monk, which is very, very simple. And a few years ago now, because I'm well connected here in Perth, I was invited to the ordination of the first Anglican bishop, who was a female, Kay Goldsworthy. And, that was actually apparently the first female Anglican bishop in the world here in Perth. So, because I've got connections, I was invited to the ceremony. But that lasted 2 hours. That's such a long ceremony, the novice ceremony, even if I pad it out with a joke here and a joke there, like, you know what the word novice means? It's called no vice. That's why it's called novice. Okay, that didn't go down very well. It didn't go down very well last night either. But, you pad it out, it's only 15 minutes, a very simple ceremony to do, but 2 hours is such a long time. But I always remember that because, most of the people were Anglicans, but I was sitting in, the pew in St. George's Cathedral, the pew for, the other religions and heretics. And I was sitting next to the head of the Uniting Church in Western Australia, and also Abbot Placid, the ex-abbot of the New Norcia Monastery. They were all good friends. And even Abbot Placid, Benedictine Monastery up in New Norcia, we were great mates. He passed away a couple of years ago. We were such good mates. After a quarter of an hour of all that ceremony, the three of us, we were exchanging jokes during the service. Just like three naughty schoolboys. 2 abbots and the head of the Uniting Church. So don't think that sort of religion is always so serious. When it's somebody else's ceremony, we tell jokes and talk and laugh and dig each other in the ribs. Really good fun. So anyway, the ceremony is very, very short. But during that ceremony, it's been tradition that one of the meditations you teach novices is the 5 reflections of the body: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth and skin. One of the reasons we do that, because that's like the covering of a human being. When you look at a human being, that's what you see. Their hair, their skin, their nails, their teeth. You can't see anything else. And that is like the cover of the book. And you don't judge a book by its cover. That's an old English saying. And that's the cover of a human being. We pointed out you don't judge a person by their looks. You maybe get attracted by their looks, but that's the cover of a book. It's what's inside is really the most important. And whether that person is a very kind, good person. Some years ago, I've run this actually many times with our youth group here and youth groups in many other countries in the world where I visit. Sometimes the young people, they want to use spirituality to help their lives, just like you want spirituality or any teachings from Buddhism to be useful, not just something to believe, but something to put into practice in your life. So I took this youth group and I just separated them with the genders, girls over there, boys over there, and then I asked the boys, what turns you on with a girl? What does a girl have to do to attract you? And all the girls were really interested in finding out, from the horse's mouth, the boys, what they had to do to get a good boyfriend or a good husband later on. And what came out? The boys, and they liked the girls to be, pretty, sexy or whatever. But what was really important was they were kind and they were fun and trustworthy. That's what they really were looking for. And they all agreed on that. And the girls were just so happy. It didn't matter so much if they weren't like supermodel, super hot. But what was really important is those qualities which were underneath the covers of the book. Because, you should all know that. If you're looking for a partner in life, or you're staying with a partner and you really want that relationship to grow, the attractiveness is one thing. But what's more important, you're not just living with a face or with a nice hairstyle. You're looking, you can change that, shave it off and get a wig. It's very easy. But what's really important is their character, their kindness, their goodness, especially their trustworthiness. Because you all know when you enter into a relationship, it's very dangerous territory. And you don't want to walk along that dangerous path with someone you cannot trust. Which is why that came out pretty much on the top. They liked their girls looking good because a lot of times they said it wasn't the fact that she was attractive, it was the fact that they had gone to such a great deal of trouble to groom themselves and look good for their partner. It was the trouble they went to, the effort they went to. It was a sign of how much they cared. And when I asked the girls, okay, now your turn now, what type of boy turns you on? What attracts you to go out with that boy and maybe commit to them and maybe marry them? What type of boy do you like? And of course all the boys were really listening. Because I remember that before I was a monk. No one told me what I'm supposed to do to get a girl. And you ask the other boys, they were stupid as I was. They didn't know what to do. So it's so logical. If you want to find a nice girl to go out with, find out from the girls, what do you want? What do you want me to look like? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? And again, the girls said exactly the same. And this was time and time again this happens. What sort of boy do you want? Yeah, they want them to be clean and well-dressed, because again, that's a sign that they put the time and effort in to looking good for you. It means, again, showing that they care. Being trustworthy, being fun, being entertaining was really important. And this is actually being natural, being themselves. These are sorts of things which attract you. So when we talk to the monks about those 5 external parts of the body, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth and skin, we're just telling never ever judge a person just by what they look like. Never judge a person because the colour of their skin, their height, just their pecs, their muscles or their boobs or whatever else people judge people by. Because that's not as important as the beautiful character. And that is what eventually we love. We love the person, not the body. Maybe when you got young, adolescent loves, you like young bodies. But later on in life, as many of you know, because you're all getting on, me too, is something else which is really important, which actually makes us love. And that is a very powerful thing to understand. Because it does mean we don't have to put so much attention and effort. Keep yourself nice and tidy and well groomed and clean and stuff, but we don't need to put so much effort into buying expensive clothes or acting macho or having sort of plastic surgery, which costs a lot of money. Although I do remember that one man, for Valentine's Day, he gave his wife some plastic surgery. He cut up her credit cards. She was spending too much. That's called plastic surgery. But anyhow, so instead of doing that, just make yourself attractive as a human being, as a person, as somebody that you love to spend time with. Because that's where lust turns into this thing which we call love. We care for a person. But it's not just caring for a person. The other ingredient to love which will bind you to another human being is also respect. And that is something which sometimes we forget, in our relationships, to actually respect the other person. Because you can see that when you lose respect for the other person, the other part of the relationship, the kindness, the trust, also disappears. So one of the most important things in a relationship, in love, is to develop this respect for one another. And that respect for one another, it means you don't, you don't have to be perfect to respect someone. You don't have to be a perfect, I often say, the perfect tree in the forest. You don't need to do that to respect the beauty in a tree. A tree has essential beauty all by itself. You sometimes see a work of art. You respect it. It's not the best work of art, but sometimes people have gone to such a lot of trouble to do that, and you respect their effort. I think that a lot of times one of the reasons why our love can't be deep is because we become too fault-finding in our partner. We don't respect them enough. And if you're having any trouble with your relationship on Valentine's Day, there's a very easy technique to solve that problem, and that is the old sheet of paper technique. When I was in Bhutan recently, and that was just last week, in Bhutan visiting over there, the group I was with, a couple of them had very good relationships, but the other ones, it was supposed to be a bit of a holiday for me. I was doing all this counseling on the relationship problems. They had me in a bus, captive, for 7 days, so I couldn't escape. But one of the things I said, look, it's so easy to overcome those problems in your relationship if you just take out a piece of paper, line down the middle, name of your partner on the top, and on the left-hand side, all of their mistakes and faults, the things which they do wrong, the times they've let you down, the times they've cheated on you, the times they haven't turned up and done what they promised to do. All those stuff, which happens in a relationship, write that down on the left-hand side. And that's easy to do. On the right-hand side, write down all the things you respect about your partner. And if you're in a bad mood, it's very hard to do. But force yourself. And when you write down all the things you respect, admire in your partner, once you fill that part of the piece of paper, cut it down the middle with a pair of scissors. The left-hand side, throw in a trash can. The right-hand side, put in your purse, in your wallet, by the side of your bed, in the office, to remind you of why you respect the person you've committed to. Because once you have that respect for the other person, it's easy for the rest of love to actually to grow. But some people, they wonder why it is that love is such a powerful force in our universe that sometimes we don't get love, we feel that we're missing out. And that's why Shakespeare once said, as many of you know, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have lost at all. That's not what Shakespeare said, but that's what I say. Because when you have lost a love, when it didn't work out, number one, that's when you can learn from it. You get a bit of objectivity. You've seen love, you've been in love, and now you're out of love. You can understand exactly what it is. What was it? When you're immersed in something, you can't really get to know it. A fish can't know what water is because it's immersed in it for all of its life. When you're out of it, you can get some understanding. What was that? So it is actually a very powerful statement to say it's better to have loved and lost than never to have lost at all. Because then you really can understand just what this love truly is. And I've said that to many young people. If you haven't had your heart broken a few times, you don't know what love is. You can't know what love is. Because what happens afterwards, sometimes, you feel that because the love has broken, that, you feel, why is it painful? You feel you're rejected, you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you. And which gives you a really big clue of what this love truly is. It is an affirmation that you're good enough. There's someone in this world who will accept you as you are, who will enjoy your company without criticism, without demanding you to be anything different, who will actually accept you and enjoy you. It's a great affirmation for people who have low self-esteem, and that's everybody has not high enough self-esteem. We all think we're imperfect. We all think that there's some faults in us. They always think that there's something wrong with us, and we meet someone who actually likes us and loves us and cares for us, who gives us this beautiful sense that we can be who we are, and they like that. It's a beautiful sense of perfection in the eyes of another human being. And that is just such a relief for us. Unfortunately, that when that vanishes and that relationship breaks, we're back to our old self-doubt again. I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, I'm not good enough to be loved. Now this is one of the biggest insights and biggest problems about this thing which we call love. And it is coming down the fact we need that love. Well, we get that love first of all from our parents, if you're lucky enough to have good parents. You know, sometimes you're lucky enough to have a parent who loves you unconditionally. Yeah, they will tell you off from time to time, but you're their daughter, you're their son, and they will just care for you for your whole life. And you know that no matter what you do, you've got a mum who will always care for you. Maybe your mother and father don't give you that type of love, or maybe your grandparents do. I just love the grandparent-grandchildren relationship, because I remember that was one of the most beautiful relationships in my life growing up in London. My grandma will give me anything. She would spoil the head. Well, she didn't spoil me, I turned out okay. But I remember I could knock the door of her little apartment any time in the afternoon or morning or at night time, and she would ask me, do you want some chips? And in those days, you'd get a potato out, wash it, peel it, turn on the stove and just fry up some chips for me. My mother would never do that. Spoil your dinner. Spoil something. But as far as my grandma was concerned, if my grandson wanted chips, he gets chips any time of the day or night. Now, well, that's an example. I'm sure that many of you had a grandparent like that. And I love my grandma for that. Do you love your grandparents when they just spoil you like that? Now, why is that? And it's because it's a total acceptance, uncritical acceptance. Somebody just wants to spoil you, to make you happy in whatever way she can. And now, forget about the future. The present's the only important time. And that was really important for her and for me. And I enjoyed that sort of total acceptance and giving and kindness. Not really thinking about it or being logical or rational, but totally irrational kindness. Now that type of love is something we remember and something we try and get in our relationship. I know that some women keep saying, oh, you just want another mother, and it's true. They don't want a mother to wash their clothes for them, but they want a mother who sort of accepts them for who they are. Just like a girl would like a man to respect her, be kind to her, and to love her with all her faults, not in spite of her faults, but with all her faults. Just to allow that person to be. Now that type of love, which is totally uncritical, which is total acceptance, which is respecting you and admiring you and saying just how wonderful you are, how beautiful you are, how caring you are. If you receive that, what does it feel like? It feels this wonderful high. At last in this world, there's somebody who understands me. It's one of the reasons why that when we do fall in love like that, it is a spiritual experience. It is an experience which we need to recognize, usually with religious ceremonies like marriage. Sometimes you wonder why, do people want to get married in churches still? Why can't they just go to an office somewhere and sign a piece of paper? But there's something missing in just like buying a car. It's not the same as if you come to a religious ceremony, because you realize this is spiritually, this is powerful, this is love. And part of that spirituality of love is not just being totally accepted by the other person, respected and even admired and cared for by the other person. It's also the fact that to care for somebody else, you have to let go of a lot of fault-finding in your own self, a lot of control as well. When you really fall in love, you really let go into love. And as most of you who have experienced that realize, it is a case of being totally out of control. You don't know really what you're doing, you just want to be with that person, you enjoy, and there's that sense of fear leading to control disappearing inside of you. What that is, it's a part of this beautiful practice of letting go of what you want for the sake of something bigger than you. That is one of the reasons why when I do marriage ceremonies, I often say it's not about the wife, it's not about the husband, it's not about the other. In a marriage, when you fall in love, it's not about me, it's not about her, it's not about him, it's all about us. Us is something bigger than oneself. And this is one of the reasons why that type of love becomes a very spiritual, high experience. You're letting go of your sense of self, of who you are, and you're merging into who we are. It's not about me anymore. Now this is that spiritual angle about love and selflessness. I've always been interested with people who have these near-death experiences because when you leave the body and you're leaving the world, again you get a perspective which is much wider and more accurate than when you're right in the world. And that particular experience, when a person has a near-death experience and they float out of their body and they go into the light, so many people say that when they merge into that light of a near-death experience, they feel totally accepted. They feel like, whatever they thought was a fault in them before is totally forgiven, totally embraced, as if they're just floating in this great ocean of infinite love and acceptance, and everything has meaning. There's no such word as wrong anymore. There's no even concept of a fault or a failing anymore. They are totally accepted and embraced for who they are. And they call that this infinite love. I'm sure that many of you have seen documentaries or read books, where people explain that experience, a great spiritual experience of being totally at ease with themselves and all the whole universe. And it's a taste of that which people experience when they fall in that love, a total acceptance of who they are in the eyes of another human being, totally embraced, no one seeing a fault in them. And that beautiful high of giving love and being loved. And here I've emphasized that beautiful sense of acceptance, not fault-finding, being embraced, being respected, even being admired in that beautiful love experience. And this gives me just the idea of why you do need another person to give you that love. That other person falling in love is just an indication of the real love which you should be attaining, maybe in that relationship, outside that relationship, which is taking it to the next step. Being able to love yourself in the same way you feel love from another human being when you fall in love. To be able to look at yourself independent of another human being and giving yourself that same degree of love. What I'm saying is like falling in love with yourself. And I don't mean that in an arrogant, conceited, big-headed sort of way. How good I am, how great I am. No, that is arrogance, that is not love. Real love is looking at oneself and just respecting oneself and seeing all the faults which one first thought was something to be fixed as part of your character, just like the clouds and the sky in the west of Australia create the most beautiful sunsets, but when there is no cloud in the sky at all, when there's no dust in the sky, when there's no smoke from fires, the sunset is never as beautiful. You just need what some people call imperfections to make the sunset perfect, to give it character, to spread the colors of purple, orange and gold on the horizon in the evening. Without those imperfections, where would the sunset be? So you learn how to see those imperfections, or what some people call imperfections, as something essential and beautiful and not to be got rid of. It's like loving without any fault finding at all. A total embracing of oneself with all the one's warts and faults and bad jokes and stupid things one does, and feeling totally accepting of oneself. In my life as a monk, sometimes I've met people like that who give you absolute total love, even more than my old girlfriends I used to fall in love with. One of those monks I will never forget was a monk called Ajahn Tate, who lived in Nong Khai province in the north of Thailand. He was supposed to be a very advanced monk. I went to visit him once to ask questions. You have all these questions in life you want to ask, really wise people. And as soon as I went into the room, he's a very famous monk, had to make an appointment, all those questions evaporated. And instead I felt totally accepted. It's one of the first times in my life that I realized that old man, the old monk sitting in front of me, would not criticize or hurt me or do anything, to irritate me at all. You felt totally, 100% accepted. And that was such a powerful experience. I just sat there silently like some dummy, couldn't speak, but thinking, I don't want to move from this place. I'm going to spend the rest of my life just sitting here, just being acknowledged, accepted, and embraced. It's a wonderful experience when you have that. Somebody just loves you for who you are. Total love, total acceptance, and you just bliss out in their presence. Somebody once gave this simile, which I think is a great simile. He said, people are born with spikes on their body, invisible spikes. And some people's spikes are really long and very sharp. Those represent the people, you may see, rarely. You go walking through the streets, maybe in Northbridge, or a bad boss comes into your office. They've got such long spikes, you don't want to go close to them. If you go close, you get scratched and hurt. Those people you just want to get out of the room when they come in. They've got such long, sharp spikes. Most people got average spikes. Average length, average sharpness. Means you can get close to them. You get too close to a person, you get scratched. Some people are so kind and lack of fault finding, their spikes are very, very small. But still, if you get too close to them, you get scratched too. But there are some people who've got no spikes at all. If you ever meet a person like that, it's so amazing. You don't get scratched. You can be whoever you are. Bad, good, somewhere in between. And you never get scratched. You feel totally accepted, embraced for who you are. And it's wonderful being in the presence of such spiritually advanced people. So the whole purpose of this life is to get rid of those spikes. So you can love anybody. And especially yourself. So you look at yourself with all your faults and the bad things you've done. But you love them. That's your character. I was telling some of the people in Bhutan, because they said, well, okay, Ajahn Brahm, what bad thing did you do? What's one of the things you really, really don't like to admit to? And so I told them the story. I was about 7 years of age, because you're mentioning my mother's second death anniversary on a Sunday. And when I was about 7 years of age, there was a craze going around London, a food craze of eels and mashed potatoes. So there were boiled eels. Now that's pretty gross. If you see an eel, this long little eel from the river or from the sewers, or I don't know where they got them from. And they boiled them with mashed potatoes and maybe some tomato sauce on the top. It's gross. But gross food, people have a fad for gross food every now and again. It lasted for about a year. So a local eel and mash shop opened up just down the road from me. And it was my mother's birthday. I was about 7 years of age. So I had a little bit of pocket money. I went down to the shop and asked, sir, can I buy a live eel? Not a dead one, a live one. So I got a live one. And I was resourceful enough. I had an old shoebox. I put the eel in the shoebox. And I got this beautiful wrapping paper. Please don't make me laugh. I've got a bit of a cough. I'm going to die telling this story. I'm going to asphyxiate myself. Sometimes people do die laughing, and I came close many years ago in the monastery. I was telling a joke, and I just really almost did myself in. But anyway, a 7-year-old boy put in the box, nice wrapping paper, found a ribbon, and tied it all up, and a nice little note. Happy birthday, Mum, from your son. And you know all your mothers here. If you have a 7-year-old son, that's so cute. Now see your little boy over there. Don't get any ideas, okay? Don't do this to your mum. And so my poor old mum, I was so controlled. I never gave the game away at all. You know, it's very hard for a 7-year-old, you know, to keep a straight face. Happy birthday, Mum. And my mother was so touched, you know, a 7-year-old kid got a nice birthday present for her. She didn't know what was inside. So, oh, it's so wonderful. It's so cute, you know, the 7-year-old thinks of me. She opened it. My God, did she scream? You can hear that scream all over London. And I was almost wetting myself laughing. What a terrible kid I was. I thought it was very funny at the time, but I feel I was sorry, Mum, I shouldn't have done that. What mothers have to put up with. But, you know, even though you do stupid things like that, you love yourself who you are. That's what a kid is like. You know, that's my character. So you never feel bad about yourself. So that thing which you really enjoy when you fall in love from another partner, at last being accepted for who you are. Somebody really enjoys my company. And they can't find fault with me. They think I'm perfect. They think I'm wonderful. And they're damn right. So why can't you do that all the time? I think what love is actually teaching us is how to have that same attitude towards ourselves all the time. Falling in love with yourself. So hopefully that you sent yourself a Valentine's Day card. Happy Valentine's Day, me. Because what that's actually doing is once you do learn how to love yourself, then you can love absolutely anybody. You can take that same beautiful high, which, you know what happens, you know, after you fall in love, it doesn't last so long, does it? You know, then you get married, and if you don't live happily ever after, it's tough work. Why can't we have that love all the time? That beautiful sense, you know, when you look at another person, and they're actually beautiful and perfect and wonderful and delightful. You get so high in their company. And you're on the receiving end of that as well. That's such an amazing experience. Why can't we have that all the time? And you can, if you know how to stop finding fault with yourself and stop finding fault with other people. It's one of those psychological truths, I don't know what the word is, but when somebody finds fault with you, they say, you know, Ajahn Brahm, you talk too much. It's always because they talk too much. You know, if they say you're too lazy, it's because they are too lazy. We always find fault with other people about areas where we are deficient. And it's a characteristic of the human mind to do that. So wouldn't it be wonderful if you love yourself and you can't find fault in yourself at all, if you accept yourself for who you are, then you find you can do the same with other people. If you can love yourself totally, then you can love other people totally, without demanding anything from them. The point is that when we fall in love and that particular love fades away, there's a lot of wanting that love back, and we try too hard to get that back, instead of understanding where it all comes from. Understanding to fall in love with another person, you have to understand yourself first of all. When you accept yourself, understand yourself, at peace with yourself, again, it's so easy to love almost anybody. It's, you know, sometimes people will ask me, have you ever fallen in love? And said, of course I have. I fell in love with myself a long time ago. And I can fall in love with every one of you as well. And it is true, that's how I feel with many people I've known for such a long time. You know, not criticizing anybody, not fault-finding of them, not seeing anything bad in them, but seeing the beauty in them. And sometimes you can see the beauty in a kid, you can see a beauty in an old lady. And I remember sort of Mother Teresa, One of her stories when she was working in Calcutta and she picked up this guy who was, had cancer, smelled like a sewer because been staying in one for a long time. And the guy was, how can you actually touch me and pick me up when I smell so bad and so dirty and you're just such a clean, beautiful nun? He said, I can't smell you. I can't see your dirt. I just see this beautiful human being in front of me. Now that is inspiring because that's someone who can actually love somebody. Not just because they're clean and they're young and they're beautiful. They can see something else which they see in themselves to love. So on this Valentine's Day, just have a look inside of yourself. And why can't you love yourself? Why are you always so critical of yourself? Why are you so fault-finding of yourself? All your faults which you think are unique to you are shared with the person sitting to your left, to your right, behind and in front of you. This was one of the insights I got when, as a monk, I started to talk to people and they started telling me their problems. The first time someone told me their problem, I thought that was really interesting. The second time, hey, this is the same problem again. The third one, here we go again. Now, you all think your problems are unique, but I'd love to actually record your problems, get your permission to do so, and then actually put them online. And you'll be surprised that your problem you'll find is shared by almost everybody. Maybe different clothing, but the essential problem is the same. Not accepting. Asking from yourself what you can never give. Asking from life what it can never give. That's not loving life. That's trying to control life, to squeeze things out of life which can never be given. To squeeze something out of your partner which they will never be able to give you. And to try and get something from yourself which is just not possible. That's not love. That's asking too much. It's like asking for the no clouds, no heat, no winter. This is not life. So when we learn how to love ourselves without fault finding, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, hi me, and you really mean that, and you have this beautiful sense of love towards yourself, happy in your own company, then you can be happy with others as well. That is one of the reasons why being a monk, I'm not without love. You don't hanker for a partner, because I always live with my best friend. Me. I've fallen in love with myself. Oh. And when you can do that, you can love other people. So sometimes the falling in love is a great little teaching for you. It brings you happiness and brings you this beautiful sequence of life. But please learn from that. Don't just take it for granted and think, okay, I don't have to do anything anymore. It's one of the things I was always taught as a monk. Whatever you experience, contemplate it. Find out its truth. Find out its essence. Life is a great teacher. If anything difficult, that's teaching you something. Anything beautiful, teaching you something. Sometimes we always think we can only learn from our mistakes. No, learn from your successes as well. Learn from love. What's it there to teach you? It's not just to be enjoyed, because if you just enjoy and don't learn anything, you've wasted an amazing opportunity. What is the meaning of love? Why is love so beautiful, so high, so spiritual? Even if the falling in love, why is that just such a great time of your life? It is because there's no more fault-finding, no more criticism, no more judging. It's just that person you're with is beautiful. And other people say, what on earth do you mean? They're beautiful. They're just ugly. But in your eyes, they're the most beautiful person in the world. And you are the most beautiful person for them. Isn't that wonderful to experience? See if you can do that all the time, for all the beings, and for all moments in life. This moment is the most beautiful moment you'll ever experience. Cherish it. Why not? When we find fault, when we're negative, when we criticize, we're destroying love. And sooner or later, each one of you, I hope, will have that death experience. If you come back or you don't come back, who knows? But where you feel there's total acceptance, total at peace with yourself, no criticism, no spikes anymore, totally at peace, accepted, loved, at one with this moment. That's what love truly means. And that is my talk for Valentine's Day. Time went too quickly. Thank you. Very good. Well done. Okay, first of all, any quotes, any sort of questions from the floor? Yes. How is it? How do we get rid of the rats? You got rats in the house? One rat. Why do you want to get rid of the rats? The rats are nice and cuddly. Have you got a dog or a cat? What's the difference between a cat and a rat? Only one letter. Yeah? The rats fight? Yeah, well, sometimes mummy and daddy fight. but you still love mummy and daddy. And mummy loves daddy, daddy loves mummy. So, no, but sometimes it's not like getting rid of things you don't like. Because if all you ever do in life is try and get rid of things you don't like, you're going to have a very difficult life. Sometimes we have to learn how to live with things we don't like and learn how to appreciate and respect them. The rat has got a place to live in life, and maybe one day you'll see the rat having babies. And these beautiful little babies. And you think, how can we kill these? Because they're very cute. All babies of all animals are always really cute. So after a while, sometimes you might think it's very strange, but you tend to start to admire and respect things which one day you were very scared of. And sometimes some enemies which you have in school, people you don't like, after a while you learn how to respect them and care for them. It's amazing in life when you can do this. The rats in the schoolyard, the ones with 2 legs, not 4 legs, after a while you can learn just how to live in peace and harmony with everyone without them hurting you. So that's maybe one way. If you can't get rid of the rats, learn how to live with them. Okay, very good, thank you. What have we got here? We've got 2 questions here. How can we learn not to expect anything from love or the ones we love? If it's real, how can we learn not to expect anything from love or from the ones we love? If you expect something, it's not the true love. That's more like attachment when we expect something. Now the love is where we just totally surrender to, being in that moment with that person. We don't think of the next moment. That's one of the beautiful things about falling in love. It's just all there is now. We never think of old age or pensions or retirement. We're just totally in this moment. When you're in the future and you have fears, expectations and worries, that's when you start to control. Remember, fear comes first, control comes afterwards. You're afraid of that beautiful moment disappearing, and when you're afraid of it disappearing, it already has disappeared. And you're off into the future, afraid of what might happen, afraid of losing what you've got instead of enjoying what you've got. And that means you start to control. You all know what that's like. When you're having a relationship and the other person starts to control you, it's no wondering where you are when you're not with them, always following you or harassing you, asking you questions. That's not love. It means you've lost the moment. You've lost what really love is, accepting and being in this moment with this person, not judging. So expectations are one of the biggest problems in life. I always tell people, and I've told this to business groups, and this is now on Harvard Business School blog, they say if you want to have a successful business, lower your expectations. Don't raise them. If you want to have a happy partnership, lower expectations. Don't raise them. Have a happy life, lower expectations. Lower them right down to the floor, to the bottom, until you have no expectations of life at all. And then every moment is a surprise. Every moment is a gift. Every moment surprises you as enjoyable. When you have an expectation, half the time you'll be disappointed. And when you're disappointed, you try harder to get that expectation back. And then you go into this spiral of negativity, control, anger, frustration. And that's a nasty place to live. Imagine having no expectations at all. So your partner is continually surprising you. I ask nothing from you, darling. No expectations at all. And then you find you have everything. Expectations are what kills us. So we don't have expectations. We live much more in the present. Yeah, you do have plans, but the plans are different than expectations. The plans are sort of, okay, you say expecting the unexpected. You know, that's a bit of an oxymoron, but okay, expect the unexpected, which means having rubbery plans. Don't have such plans. And certainly that's the case in my life. I would never have expected, when I first became a monk almost 40 years ago, to be sitting up here giving a talk to all you guys. I would never expect, when I ordained 40 years ago, to be climbing up mountains in Bhutan last week. It's always the unexpected. And that's why life is really interesting. I never know what's going to happen next. I was hanging out with the Queen Mother of Bhutan the other day. I only hang out with the hoi polloi, none of the riffraff. No more riffraff. But they were really good fun as a monk. You know, you've been right down the very bottom in funeral homes and just autopsies. That's probably the lowest you've got, where they cut up bodies and cut up the brain, put it over here and over there. That's really good fun. But we also had dinner with the Queen Elizabeth as a monk. It's amazing, sort of the lifestyle of a monk. You know, being on building sites, getting dirty with concrete and just, meeting the prime ministers and stuff. So it's great being a monk. I don't expect anything. I don't have a clue what's going to happen next. I can't even expect my breakfast tomorrow morning. Sometimes people forget. They do sometimes. But not here, probably. So I've always said to lower your expectations, and then when you lower your expectations and you're in much more in the present moment and you allow the future just to be, and whichever way it goes, you get breakfast, you don't get breakfast, you meet an amazing person, you meet a difficult person, it's all beautiful stuff. It's all part of this great texture of life, and I love everything of it. And if it's not to expect anything from the ones you love, if you expect something from the ones you love, then you're not really loving them. Lower your expectations to no expectations. Just love them. Care for them. And just when you have this beautiful love to the other person, it really is love to the other person, it's such a powerful thing for the other person to be expected. To be accepted, not expected. To be accepted. Of course, they will give you wonderful things back. If you expect something out of them, it's not love. Anyway, question 2. How can I be calm when facing a person who is real sneaky and real negative? How can we treat these people with love? You beat them down with love. Well, not really beat them down, but there's an old story from the time I used to teach in prisons. That I teach the same when I teach in prisons, or teach here, or teach wherever. And one of the prisoners came up to me once and said, yeah, that's okay out there in the world, but prison is a tough place. Some of the people, the murderers in here, the rapists, this is a tough place. You can't just love your enemies in this place. And I said, why not? I said, let's have a challenge. And I asked this prisoner, in this prison, which person do you hate the most? Which is the most negative person in this jail? And straight away he said one of the senior prison officers. He said, he's a dog, he's a pig. And he gave me an example just a few days ago. One of the other prisoners, this was in Carnet Prison Farm, just down in Serpentine by our monastery. One of the prisoners, his wife managed to get a lift to come and visit him. And it's a long way from Perth to Carnet. There's no public transport. So it's hard for relations to go and visit, their relatives in jail. So his wife managed, for after 2 or 3 months to get a lift to come and see him. And his prison officer saw this woman sign in and decided on the PA system, he sent this prisoner to the other side of the prison farm, 2 kilometers away. And so when the wife had finished off the requirements of signing in, giving her ID, etc., then they called this prisoner to the meeting room, saying, your wife has come with prisoner so-and-so, please go to the area, your wife is here for a visit. And this prison officer knew where this guy was, out of range of the PA system. And the other prison officers went looking for him and looking for him. By the time they found him, I'm terribly sorry, prison visiting hours are over. Better luck next time. Just a mean-spirited thing to do, totally unnecessary. So that's that sort of guy. So I said, great, we have a challenge here. And one of the other guys in this group had the job of serving tea, every morning and afternoon to this dog in the prison. And I said, great, I want you to make the most delicious cup of tea or coffee you can possibly make for that prison officer. No. So do it. Put some love and care into it. Find out how he likes it. So really put love into it and say something nice to him every day. And so I would go every week to the prison and ask him how it's going. It's a waste of time. Every time I really try and find out what he likes, give him a bit of extra tea, extra coffee, whatever it is, a nice sandwich or a biscuit or something. I really try my best. And he ignores me. I put the cup of coffee down. Hope you enjoy the cup of coffee, sir. He doesn't even look up. He doesn't even acknowledge my existence. I said, carry on. It took 3 months. Only 3 months. Keep that kindness going. And after 3 months, he gave him a cup of coffee with some cream or something he found. It's amazing what you can find in jail. And he said, hope you like your coffee, sir. I found some cream for you. And the prison officer never looked up. He said, Now that was amazing. That went around all the prison. This prison officer had acknowledged, the existence of a prisoner. And when he told me, he was really excited. That was a big thing. And I realized that was a crack. As soon as you got the crack in the dam, it's only a matter of very quick time before the whole dam wall falls. And it was only a couple of weeks afterwards. He gave himself a cup of tea and he said, I've got this really nice biscuit for you, sir. And the prison officer looked up at him and said, thank you. And that went round I was told this, and I have no doubt about it, went around all the prisons in Western Australia on the grapevine. So this prison officer could actually look another prisoner in the face and say thank you. It was unprecedented. I won the bet, or rather loving kindness won the bet. And that's a true story which I always remember, and I often quote, because, in the end, sort of loving kindness, when it's persisting, with kindness, care, trying to, put the best you can possibly do to somebody else, it wears them down. It's irresistible. Maybe it took him sort of 3.5, 4 months to wear this person down, but it worked. Never underestimate its power. It's really great. So actually that's how you do it. You wear them down with love and kindness. It's irresistible in the end. Because don't you like to be treated with respect and kindness when someone helps you and 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 helps you? After a while you can't get angry at them anymore. And all your negativity, all your sneakiness, they said here, will just be melted away in the power of such kindness. Please never, never underestimate the power of compassion. If someone's hurt you, you forgive them. Do something which is extraordinary with kindness. Don't sort of try and get revenge. Say, I forgive you. But I haven't done anything. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I still forgive you. It's powerful. It's beautiful. And it works every time. In my life I found that. The power of compassion. What type of world do you want to live in? You've got a choice there. This is not idealistic. This is practical. It takes a while though. And you've got to take a bit of flack sometimes. But keep on with the kindness. It works. And it creates this beautiful world. Valentine's Day, every day. Okay, thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. Okay, thanks very much. Please, I apologize. Next week I'll be going to Hong Kong, giving some talks. I forget who's coming. Who's coming in next week? Is it Hasapanya or is it Pamali? Surprise! No expectations. See what happens next. Okay. So let's pray this rest of Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and then we can go and do what we need to do.